I have taken your classes, and I would also like to take a class or two on Saturday, because मेरे पास बिल्कुल टाइम नहीं हो रहा है बेटा तुम लोग का. I want to finish your syllabus before 15th or so, because मेरे पास अपना कमिटमेंट अब बहुत ज्यादा हो गया है ना. तो और मैं चाहती नहीं कि तुम लोग को कोई और पढ़ाए या कुछ और हो, तो इसलिए आई वुड लाइक टू फिनिश योर सिलेबस माई सेल्फ. ऑल्दो you must have heard that I'm no longer with the college. I have already left the college ERP. तुम्हारे से निंग इन सबका नेटवर्क भी पुअर है लगता है. चलो एनीवेज, कितने लोग देहरादून में हो, कितने घर वापस चले गए हो, बोल करूं. If you are in Dehradun, just type. Let me see, huh? Okay. Okay, Dehradun में काफी सारे हो. So you're going for offline classes, those who are in Doon? Prajwal, Varun, Venkat Rao, are you going for offline classes?
No, ma'am.
All classes are happening online only. College में कोई बच्चा नहीं आ रहा है.
Yes, college door was locked.
Say something. Say again. I am.
Ma'am, college door was locked na every day. They used to lock the college door. Means classroom door.
Classroom
They are
door is
locking
locked.
yeah, classroom was locked.
So, but if you go, then you tell your class coordinator, it will be opened.
Yeah, but on the few students, ma'am, that's why we didn't go.
All classes are happening online.
Yes, ma'am.
How many classes syllabus is left?
I guess many, I guess.
Many, but Sandhya ma'am was telling me that almost everybody has completed.
Yeah, almost, but still some teachers have left, na.
मेरा तो बहुत सारा बचा है. मेरा तो बहुत सारा बचा. I need 10 classes.
Yes, ma'am.
I to need 10 classes to finish up the syllabus. मिलता था, इस बार एक क्लास मिला है वीक में, इस वजह से मेरी क्लास कोई ना कोई मारता है. तो मैंने किया फैकल्टी ग्रुप पे. Anyway, we will talk about plant tissues. In the last class, I talked about the meristematic tissues, and now today we will talk about the permanent tissues that are there. This is the we have already today I will tell you something about the permanent tissues. Okay, let's move forward, and then we will start talking about it. Okay, which of my okay, so we will today talk about the permanent tissues. And when we look at the permanent tissue, last class we did the meristematic tissues which have retained their power of those tissues which are in a continuous state of division. Well, when you look at the permanent tissues, several kinds of classification are available for permanent tissues also. And first and foremost, you have tissues where originated. Like the meristems, you had primary meristem, you had the secondary meristems. Like the meristems, you have the primary permanent tissues and you have the permanent tissues. So when you look at the primary permanent tissues, these are derived primary or the apical meristems. You have the root apical meristem, you have the shoot apical meristems. So all the tissues which are derived from the primary meristems, they are called as the primary permanent tissues. Now, last class we talked about kinds of secondary meristems, the cork cambium and the vascular cambium. So the tissues that we derive from the cork cambium and the vascular cambium, these are called as the secondary permanent tissue. So that is the first classification that you use for classification of permanent tissues, the primary permanent tissues and the secondary permanent tissues. Now, thereafter, you have the tissues based on the structure of the cells and the types of the cells that are present in this. Now, based on the structure and complexity of the composition of the tissue can be simple permanent tissues and you have the complex permanent tissues. So when you look at the simple permanent tissues, they include only one types of cells, and these one types of cells, they are formed of they form a homogeneous mass. That matlab, agar simple words mein explain karo, so those tissues where all cells are alike, they are absolutely the same, no difference in them, they have the same origin, they have the same function, they are doing everything the same. So such tissues, they are called as simple permanent tissue, they look alike, right? And the complex permanent tissues are the ones where there are different types of cells which go into the formation of the cell, but these different types of cells, they are performing a common function. Two tissues we call as complex permanent tissue, the xylem and the phloem. And you know that xylem conducts water and phloem conducts food. But there are so many different types of cells that are present in xylem and phloem. So when you try to demarcate between the simple permanent tissue and the complex permanent tissue, simple permanent tissues consider those tissues which are formed of only one type of cells, and complex permanent tissues those which are formed of more than one types of cells, and they work together as a say towards us the same function, right? Three types of simple permanent tissues are known: parenchyma, collenchyma, and sclerenchyma. How many types? Three types of simple permanent tissues are there: parenchyma, collenchyma, and sclerenchyma. So when you look at parenchyma, the parenchyma, it is a fundamental tissue. When I say it is a fundamental tissue, this tissue, it is composed of thin walled cells. हमेशा thin wall होती है. They are isodiametric in shape. Isodiametric in shape, जब हम लोग ड्राइंग बनाने तुम्हें लैब रिकॉर्ड में बोलते हैं तो तुम लोग ऐसे बनाते हो, है ना? ऐसी they are isodiametric in shape. They will have 20 faces and like this. हाँ, इसके पीछे भी so there are three dimensions. They are multi-cellular, isodiametric in shape. The most important thing that is there is that their cell wall, it is made up of cellulose. The cell wall is made up of cellulose. बहुत important point, most important point, that the cell wall, it is a thin and it is made up of cellulose. And the next most important thing is that they constitute living cells. Living cells मेटाबॉलिकली एक्टिव हैं, अपने सारे काम कर रहे हैं, स्टोरेज कर रहे हैं, टर्जिडिटी कर रहे हैं, फोटोसिंथेसिस कर रहे हैं, और उसके बाद एटीपी जनरेशन कर रहे हैं. मतलब वो सारी की सारी एंजाइमेटिक एंड मेटाबॉलिक एक्टिविटीज व्हिच आर एसोसिएटेड विद द सेल, दे आर परफॉर्मिंग दोज एंजाइमेटिक एंड मेटाबॉलिक एक्टिविटीज. सो सच टिश्यूज, दे आर कॉल्ड एज parenchyma tissue. Also, one thing that is there is that between these cells, small intercellular spaces are present. Small intercellular spaces are present between the parenchyma cells. So what are parenchyma cells? Thin walled, fundamental tissue forming the ground tissue in most of the plant bodies. Then they are in shape. The cell wall is made up of cellulose. They constitute living cells. Small intercellular spaces are present between the cells, and it occurs in soft parts of the plants, and is function is to store and to provide turgidity to softer parts. लीफ को देखते हो ना, लीफ में जो टर्जिडिटी होती है, कभी मतलब टर्जिडिटी मतलब turgidity to the tissue. So all these here, these are parenchyma tissue. कहाँ ये parenchyma है, और ये जो कॉर्टेक्स में ये बीच में देखो जो ये टिश्यू पड़ा है, ये सारा parenchyma टिश्यू है. पोटैटो के ग्रेन्स नजर आ रहे हैं, ये पैरेन्काइमा टिश्यू है, देखो बीच में स्टार्च स्टोर, और ये देखो लीव्स में पैरेन्काइमा टिश्यू है. So all these are parenchyma, various cases where parenchyma is present. So when you look at parenchyma, certain types of parenchyma, they do specialized functions, okay? And when parenchyma, it contains us, takes up the function of synthesis of food, such parenchyma, we call it as chlorenchyma. Chlorophyll से chlorine word आएगा, okay? So when parenchyma, it does the function of photosynthesis. How will it do the function of photosynthesis? Photosynthesis by doing what? By gaining by having chloroplast becoming green in color. That parenchyma, it is called as chlorenchyma. तुम्हें कहाँ मिलेगा? लीफ में. लीफ में स्कूल में पढ़ा होगा. You have the mesophyll tissue in the leaf, so you have the palisade and the these are specialized tissues that they contain lot of chloroplast, and their function is photosynthesis. So chlorenchyma, it makes up the leaves, the tissue in the leaves, large number of plant species. Then when you come to the aquatic plant, on कभी कभी aquatic plants को अगर छुओ तुम, जैसे कमल की petiole को छुओ, हाँ, all of you have seen lotus water lily petiole. So in the water lily petiole, you touch the water lily petiole, it is very very spongy from inside, right? It is spongy. क्या वो अंदर से hollow होती है? हाँ, उसमें air spaces present होती हैं, उसमें air spaces present होती हैं. That air spaces is because of the specialized type of parenchyma, which is called as the aerenchyma. So what happens? These are the cells, they are star shaped. Each cell, it is star shaped. ये देखो, ये cell है, हाँ, the cell is star shaped. और जब एक सेल दूसरे सेल से ज्वाइन हो जाता है तो बीच में large air spaces are there. ये देखो, ये सेल है ना, ये एक सेल है, और इसके बीच में क्या है? ये सारी intercellular spaces are present, cavities are present. क्यों air cavities present होनी चाहिए? Air cavities इसलिए चाहिए because when this tissue will when you need the leaf plants to float, है ना, और सरफेस पे फ्लोट करने के लिए फिजिक्स पढ़ी है ना, बायंसी चाहिए. तो बायंसी कैसे आएगी? जब उसमें एयरल्स बीच में एब्स होंगे. सो दैट इज द रीजन दैट दिस स्पॉन्जी टिश्यू which is present with lot of air cavities between them to store air, this tissue, it is called as aerenchyma. It is a modern kind of parenchyma, and it is made up of special cells which are star shaped, stellate meaning star shaped cells, and it forms spongy air channels in leaves, stems, and roots of many aquatic plants. It is present in aquatic plant, water plant. Okay. Then you look at the next kind of parenchyma. The most common parenchyma that you encounter, it is the outermost protective layer of the plants, right? So outermost protective layer of plants is again made up of a modified specialized parenchyma, and this modified specialized parenchyma, it is called as the epidermis. The modified specialized parenchyma called as, it is called as epidermis. So in this case, those with that which is formed of epidermis, again it is a specialized parenchyma where no intercellular spaces are present between the cells. So it is what kind of tissue? It is a specialized tissue. It forms the outermost covering. It is called as epidermis. No intercellular spaces are present, and yes, some of the cells of this epidermis, they become specialized and they are called as stomata. And what is the purpose of stomata? The purpose of stomata is gaseous exchange, the exchange of gases, है ना, कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड और ऑक्सीजन का एक्सचेंज करते हैं. Also, because it is the outermost covering, it contains a large number of multicellular hair. Where are these hair present? These hair, they can be seen on stems. These hair can be seen on leaves. So the stems and leaves, multicellular hair are seen. Again, when you look at the root, the epidermis of the root, it is called as epiblemma. याद रखना, epidermis of the root, what is it called as? The epidermis of the root, it is called as epiblemma. Okay, and it contains large number of unicellular hairs for absorbing water and minerals. क्या डिफरेंस हुआ बिटवीन एपिडर्मिस एंड एपिब्लेमा? एपिडर्मिस पे multicellular hairs are present, while on the epiblema is the outermost covering of the root, and it contains single celled unicellular root hairs for absorption of water. Then, just to show you some of these specialized cells, this is the epidermis with stomata, the epidermis showing multicelled hairs, and here the epiblema, the root epidermis showing the single celled hair. सो एपिडर्मिस ऑफ द रूट, अगर तुमको एक सेक्शन दिखाया जाए और तुम्हें पता ही नहीं चल रहा है वेदर इट इज रूट और स्टेम, हाउ विल यू कम टू नो? इफ द हेयर ऑन दैट आर मल्टीसेलुलर, it is sure short going to be stem, and it will be green in color, and while that of the root it will always be the root hair will always be unicellular, और stem में कहीं कहीं ऊपर में stomata present होंगे. Then what are the functions of this parenchyma? The parenchyma does lot of basic functions in the cells. The first and the foremost function is that it is involved in storage of water, right? It is involved in storage of reserve food material, storage of water. Whenever you have succulent कौन से plant होते हैं जो water store करते हैं? जो the cactuses that you see, those are all which store water in the form of in their tissues, huh? Even aloe vera, you have aloe vera, that gel that is there inside the leaves, it is storing a lot of water, and all the when you touch that gel with your hand, the cells are so soft, so all those are composed on parenchyma. They have vacuoles within them, and because of those vacuoles, they help to maintain the shape of the plant body. Also, the secondary meristem, which is formed from permanent tissues, it is always most often formed from from the parenchyma cell. And all the metabolic activities of the plant, be it photosynthesis, be it respiration, be it any other cycle in the plant, all the activities of the plant, they are performed by parenchyma. So it is the chief working tissue of the plant. It is the chief working tissue of the, okay, क्या क्या काम करेगा? स्टोरेज ऑफ वाटर करेगा, स्टोरेज ऑफ मटेरियल करेगा, buoyancy provide karega, gaseous exchange karega, it will give rigidity to the plant bodies, it will also give rise to medicine, and it will perform all the functions of the plant. Okay, it will perform all the functions that are there in the plant. If it is clear to you about parenchyma, then we can say yes, otherwise you can ask your query. So it seems it is clear to all of us. Only Anish has not responded. We move on to the next tissue, that is the cholechyma tissue. Now, when you look at the of cholechyma, it is composed of cells, and it has angular thickenings. Okay, elongated cells. It has in this. Okay, cells are living, still they are living, but क्या difference हुआ? Cells have become elongated, and cells के angles पे thickenings हैं. They show thickenings due to the presence of pectins in them, and also hemicellulose is there. So what has happened now? Amount of cellulose has decreased, more wall material has been deposited, but important thing is have do not have is present in this tissue. Okay, So this is their shape. When I say the way the shape is variable, then in this case you will find that they could be oval in shape, they could be circular in shape, they could be polygonal in shape. So they have a variable shape, and then when you look at it, they will be present in the outer lines, outer layers of the cortex, just below the epidermis. You may find कोलनकाइमा. क्यों? क्योंकि में support, that is the place where support is required, and just beneath the epidermis stems, they will be present in the they will be present in the stem, they will be present in case of uh, petioles and other places. ऑल्सो इन लीव्स, कितना लीफ के ऊपर फोर्स लगता है ना, हवा चलती है पर पत्ते फट तो नहीं जाते जब तक बहुत साइक्लोन नहीं आ जाए, तो लीव्स दे रिमेन intact, right? That is because they are usually present in and around the veins of the leaves. Columnar cells are present. Now, in besides this, every colon tissue is. So, what does this colon-chyma tissue do? This colon-chyma, it is living. So, when it is living, it will also do some kinds of, for example, it may synthesis and so on. And also, this can, it will give mechanical support. तो अब ये दो काम कर रहा है. पैरेन्काइमा क्या कर रहा था? सिर्फ मेटाबॉलिक एक्टिविटीज कर रहा था. Besides doing the metabolic activity, this tissue, it is also doing some amount of mechanical support to the plant. So then look at how are present. So when you look at the colon, four major types of colon-chyma are known, and these colon-chyma, the classification of colon-chyma, where the wall thickening is present. Now, if you look at the presence of the wall thickening, the first kind of colon-chyma that is there, it is called as angular colon-chyma. So this was the cell, and if the wall thickening, it is developed hearing just at the angles where the two angles meet, such kind of colon-chyma, it will be called as the angular colon-chyma. Then you have the lacunar colon-chyma. तीसरा वाला बीच अभी फोटो से समझाऊंगी. हाँ, so here you have, this is one cell, this is two cell, this is three cell, and what is this in between these cells? This is the intercellular space, right? So whenever the thickening develops in this intercellular space को क्या बोलते हैं? lacuna, है ना? अगर इस lacuna में thickening develop हो गई, तो such kind of colon-chyma, it will be called as lacunar colon-chyma. Thickening material is deposited at those places wall which are in direct contact with the intercellular spaces. Then when you look at the third kind, then suppose this is the cell, and in this cell you get the wall thickening is being laid in the form of a complete plate or lamella, and this complete plate of lamella, it is depositing more on the tangential wall than on the radial wall. So let us just see the diagrams. So you have the angular parenchyma, you have the lamellar parenchyma, and you have the lacunar parenchyma. Then the last one that is here, that is annular. Annular, what does this mean? Now this is the cell, and if the wall thickening, it develops all around this. If the wall thickening, it develops all around this like this, right? ऐसे if the wall thickening has developed all around this like this, पूरे circle में, है ना? Then it is called as the annular parenchyma. So four types I have told you. Angular parenchyma, the one which develops just at the angles. Then the lamellar parenchyma, the one which develops as lamellae or sheets. The lacunar parenchyma, where it is the thickening develops only in the intercellular spaces, and the annular parenchyma, the most जिसमें सबसे ज्यादा thickening develop होगी, that is the annular parenchyma, because this thickening will develop all around the cell in the form of a ring. So these are the four kinds of collenchyma tissue that are present. Now, if this is clear, we say yes, and if you have any problems in this, then say no and ask me what kind of problem is there. If it is clear to you, please say yes.
Ma'am, I have one question.
Jaldi jaldi jawab do, and I am. What have you not
Ma'am,
understood?
now
Yes.
एक question है. Why are collenchyma cell alive? ma'am? क्यों collenchyma cell क्यों alive है?
Why are
Collenchyma cell alive.
why are they alive? They are alive
Hmm.
because the nucleus is still functional. First point. Cellular connections between the cells. A plant cell में there are two cells of the plants. They are interconnected with each other with the help of cytoplasmic connectivities, which are called as plasmodesmata. So those plasmodesmata which do the cell to cell contact are still there, and the wall has not become so thickened that it is not allowing the passage of oxygen, it is not allowing the passage of food material, so they are still alive.
क्या
Clear?
मैम collenchyma क्या मेच्योरिटी में alive होते हैं मैम?
कोलेनकाइमा alive ही होता है बेटा.
हाँ
Collenchyma is
वो
not dead tissue.
ओके मैम क्लियर हो गया.
Huh? Collenchyma is a live tissue. We will just not talk about the dead tissue, okay? And
ओके मैम.
what has been shown here, when you start from angular, move to lacunar, and then lamellar and annular, you are progressively adding more thickening to the cell wall. अब ये minimum support देगा mechanical support, और ये वाला maximum mechanical support देगा. So depending on where they are, on which plants they are present, the different kinds of support will be there. Then we talk about what are the functions. So first function, it is the chief supporting tissue in young dicot stem. Okay, I did not say young dicot stem, old dicot stem. Old dicot stem तो क्या होती है? Tree होती है. Tree में it is not the collenchyma which is providing the support, it is the sclerenchyma. Okay, so in the young dicot stem, the stem which you can break with your hands, in that it is the chief supporting tissue. And in case of monocots, it is the only supporting tissue. वहां sclerenchyma बहुत कम होता है. ठीक है. Also, this tissue, it has yes, Venkatraw, what do you want to ask? So this tissue, it has the capacity to expand. It gives tensile strength to the body, and it is present at the margins of the leaves. That is why I was telling you the leaves don't tear very easily when there is lot of wind. They tear only when you have high intensity wind. So these they will not tear easily. So they are present at the margins of the leaf to protect the leaf from tearing. And then some of these collenchyma, because I said they're alive, they're metabolically active. So some of the collenchyma tissues, they have chloroplasts, and when they have chloroplasts, especially the cells which I said they're present just below the epidermis forming the hypodermis, so in those cases where they have chloroplasts, they will be performing photosynthesis also. Okay, so these are now, this is doing dual function. We talked about parenchyma. It was living, it had thin walls, it was not giving any support. Collenchyma is an intermediate tissue. It is doing functions, and it is also giving some amount of mechanical support to the young tissues. Then we have the sclerenchyma. When you look at the sclerenchyma, sclerenchyma is the dead tissue. I am Sclerenchyma is the dead tissue, and it has no intercellular spaces, no connection between the adjoining cells. And another thing, the cell thickenings now, they have lignin in them. Very importantly, the cell wall, it contains lignin, and lignin is the hardest, the most difficult substance to degrade. This lignin does not, it is a polyphenol, it does not allow anything to pass through it. Okay, so because of this lignin, what will happen? The cell to cell contact, the cell number 1 will not be able to communicate with cell number 2. So if I have a cell here and I have a cell there, and it does not give any nutrient here to there, any water here to there, it cannot exchange gases, what will happen to this cell? This cell will become dead. So why, that is the reason the sclerenchyma, it consists of dead cells, and the moment lignin is deposited, what will happen? Once lignin is deposited, Bishwaraj, abhi 1 minute mein samjha lu, fir पूछना, हाँ. Once lignin has been deposited, what will happen? This cell to cell contact is now finished, and when cell to cell contact is finished, धीरे धीरे क्या होगा? ऑक्सीजन नहीं एक्सचेंज होगा, ऑक्सीजन नहीं होगा, एटीपी जनरेशन नहीं होगा, फूड नहीं आएगा. What will happen? The cell will slowly lose all its metabolic contents, and it may become hollow, and it may become dead. And then in this case, what happens is that in some forms of sclerenchyma, some amount, you have this, I will just indicate it here with this diagram. So see, look what I'm making. This was the primary cell wall, and here the secondary thickening has been deposited. Lignin वगैरह सब deposit हो गया. थोड़ा सा area छूट गया where no lignin or anything was deposited. That unlignified area, it is called as pit. It is called as pit. And sometimes in xylem, most of the tissue is sclerenchyma, and still it moves water. Why? Because it moves water through the pit. It has become like a hollow tube-like cell. Now this tissue, sclerenchyma, it is the chief mechanical tissue of the plant. Jitna plant mein support dena, especially in the dicot stem, the trees that you see, though, they are so hard because they have accumulated wood, is nothing but sclerenchyma tissue. Now, Bishwaraj and I am, what do you want to ask?
Nothing, ma'am. Clear here. Clear हो गया यहाँ पर.
Clear here? Ab clear ho gaya? Good. Bishwaraj, you wanted to ask something?
नहीं मैम, हो गया मैम.
Clear हो गया ना?
हाँ मैम.
बोलो.
मैम जीके के लिए, अगर मान लो कि कोलेनकाइमा अगर प्लेन में नहीं हुआ तो क्या होता है?
फिर से बोलो. प्लांट में कोलेनकाइमा नहीं होता तो बहुत सारे प्लांट्स में कोलेनकाइमा नहीं होता, जो बहुत सॉफ्ट प्लांट्स होते हैं ना, वाटर प्लांट्स जैसे तुम लोग हाइड्रा वगैरह होते हैं, उसमें कोलेनकाइमा भी नहीं होता है. तो कुछ नहीं होता, वो प्लांट बहुत डेलिकेट हो जाएगा, जल्दी से टूट जाएगा.
ओके, थैंक यू मैम, हो गया यहाँ पर.
वेलकम, हो गया, गुड. So this is the chief mechanical tissue, and it is able to bear any pull, push, strain, sharing. अभी तुम लोग जितने के जितने क्लास में खड़े हो, सब जाके, और अगर एक पेड़ को धक्का लगाओगे, पेड़ को नहीं कर पाओगे. अगर एक वुड के ब्लॉक को लोगे, उसको तोड़ने की कोशिश करोगे, नहीं तोड़ पाओगे, है ना. अगर मोटा बड़ा हैवी ब्लॉक होगा, किस लिए? बिकॉज ऑफ ओनली वन टिश्यू, दैट इज स्क्लेरेंकाइमा. ओके, सो इट इज द चीफ.
को कैसे आइडेंटिफाई करना है?
अभी बताती हूँ, पढ़ाने तो दे. आज कितना क्वेश्चन है आई एम तेरे पास.
बहुत क्वेश्चन है मैम.
बहुत क्वेश्चन. अच्छा, तुमको मेरी क्लास में पंगे लेने को मिलता है बेटे?
नहीं मैम, सभी क्लास में क्वेश्चन पूछता हूँ.
नहीं, सिर्फ आपसे ही पंगा लेता है मैम.
मेरे से ही पंगा लेता है. हाँ, इसको पता है ना, मैम चली गई है कॉलेज से, मैम से जितना मर्जी पंगा ले लो, वापस आके
नहीं
कुछ कहने वाली नहीं है.
बोटानी मेरा फेवरेट सब्जेक्ट है, इंटरेस्ट होता है पढ़ने में, इसलिए क्वेश्चन पूछता हूँ.
गुड. मैं अब मैं विश्वास सर को बोलने वाली हूँ, बाकी बचा पोर्शन वो पढ़ाएंगे.
हाँ, ओके मैम.
ठीक है, हैं? ओके
ओके मैम.
ओके, गुड गुड. चलो चलो, अभी पढ़ लो, खत्म करने दो. देखो, उसके बाद when you look at sclerenchyma, two types of sclerenchyma are present. You have sclerenchyma fibers and you have the stone cells. Fibers में fibers are something like this. They are elongated cells like this, and they have they have they have pointed ends, like this. And you have seen all these fibers. You have seen fibers of jute, coir, hemp, linen. जितने तुम fibers use करते हो, even they are all sclerenchyma. तो ऐसे at pointed ends और बीच ऐसे thickened walls और बीच में से hollow. और stone cells तो रोज खाए होंगे. If you have eaten pears and peaches, खाए हैं? You have eaten pears and peaches. पियर जब खाते हो, या स्पेशली जब पियर्स खाते हो, तो मुंह में कुछ ग्रेनी सा आता है तुम्हारे मुंह में. जो ग्रेनी स्ट्रक्चर्स आते हैं ना मुंह में, जब हमने पीच खाया, पियर खाया, तो व्हाट दैट हार्ड स्ट्रक्चर दैट कम्स इनटू योर माउथ, दैट इज द स्टोन सेल्स और द sclerids that are okay. So these cells are like what? These are not elongated cells. These cells, they are like this, like they are पॉलीहेड्रल सेल्स, और इसकी सब वॉल्स में ढेर सारी वॉल में, इसमें चौक नहीं है तो यहाँ पे मैं इसको फिल नहीं कर पाऊंगी, बट ये पूरा का पूरा इसका ल्यूमेन भर जाएगा ऐसे, हाँ, एंड बीच में बहुत थोड़ी सी कैविटी बचेगी, सारे सेल कंटेंट्स खत्म हो जाएंगे. सो वेयर ऑल डू यू फाइंड देम? यू विल फाइंड देम इन द एंडोकार्प ऑफ स्टोनी फ्रूट्स. एंडोकार्प ऑफ द स्टोनी फ्रूट्स कौन से? बादाम का छिलका, हाँ, बादाम का छिलका तोड़ते हो, कितना मुश्किल, कितना हार्ड होता है तोड़ना. उसके बाद पियर और पीच के अंदर, उसके बाद bark में, the bark of the trees, it is composed of this, huh? So wherever they are present, they will provide stiffness to that part of the plant. So kinds of sclerenchyma, I don't think you need to do, but then yes, let me show you some of the slides. When you stain them with safranin, your answer to your question, I am, when you stain them with safranin, dekho, these cells, they will take up deep pink stain like this. Okay, so this is how they look like, and these are the fibers. Fibers will be visible like this. So if you cut a section, you can easily see them. Now let me show you one last slide. If this is how, when you cut section through plant material, it looks like. And your question is now answered. We use something which is called as double staining for staining the tissues, and wherever you have thin non-lignin walls, we use a stain which is called as the fast green stain. Okay, और इसको देखो, ये तो parenchyma है, ये वाला देखो thin walled, और देखो ये थोड़ा thick walled हो गया, हाँ, this is the collenchyma, और यहाँ पे this is the sclerenchyma, it has stained deep pink. फास्ट ग्रीन स्टेन ही नहीं लिया, इसने कौन सा स्टेन लिया? इसने सैफ्रनिन स्टेन लिया. सो बाय डिफरेंशियल स्टेनिंग कैसे होगी? स्टेनिंग इज कैपेसिटी ऑफ is by virtue of the various compounds that are present in the cell wall. So sclerenchyma will bind to it, because of the lignin, it will bind to safranin, and other tissues, they show preferential binding to other tissues. Okay, so here you see, you can make out these are thin walled cells, intercellular spaces are present. So this is the parenchyma, and look here, walls में thickening हो गया है, यहाँ पे ये देखो, deposition of thickening material is there. So this is collenchyma, and this has stained pink. Look at the quantum of wall material that is present. बीच में कोई intercellular space नहीं बची है, कुछ नहीं बचा है. So this has become, this is now fully thickened tissue. This is the sclerenchyma. और ये tissue, ये diagram कहाँ का है? जब stem का section लेते हैं तो एक patches of sclerenchyma are present in pericycle. So this is the pericycle patch that is visible. I will talk about it in the next to next class when I talk about the TS of dicot stem. Okay, so just the salient differences between them, you can take a screenshot. Whatever I have told to you just now is written here. So if you look at parenchyma, they are simple living storage tissues. Collenchyma, simple living but mechanical in storage, both, and sclerenchyma, simple dead. Shape of the cell in parenchyma will be spherical, oval, or rectangular, or irregular. In collenchyma could be elongated, polygonal, and spherical. देखो, note करो, parenchyma elongated नहीं होता है, और sclerenchyma elongated है क्योंकि तुमको xylem is made up of sclerenchyma. तो xylem के tracheids जो हैं, जो vessels जो हैं, they are elongated cells. So that is all sclerenchyma. Then cells in case of parenchyma, they are loosely arranged, intercellular spaces are there. Collenchyma could be loose or they could be compact, but sclerenchyma, they do not have any intercellular spaces. Cell wall is only made up of cellulose in case of parenchyma. In case of collenchyma, cellulose, hemicellulose, and pectin. And in case of sclerenchyma, uniformly thickened wall. And what does it contain? It contains lignin. Only tissue which contains lignin. Okay. Then cytoplasm is, large amount of cytoplasm is there, and granular cytoplasm is there. Granular means small granules are visible. What are those granules? Those granules are ribosomes. Okay. So granular cytoplasm, lot of ribosomes. What indicate? It indicates active with abundant granular cytoplasm in case of parenchyma. बहुत सारा protoplasm है और बहुत सारे ribosomes हैं, indicating that lot of metabolic activity is taking place. Why? Because ribosomes will synthesize proteins, and proteins are enzymes. So because of that, you know that lot of enzyme synthesis is taking place. Now in collenchyma, क्योंकि thickening हो गई है, the the protoplasm has reduced, but retains its granular cytoplasm. And last, and cytoplasm is replaced by lignin. Nucleus, parenchyma present, large, active. In case of collenchyma, it is present, but it is still large. Okay, and in case of sclerenchyma, is completely thickened, no nucleus is present. Agar nucleus nahi hai, तो cell is a dead cell. It is a dead cell. Okay, because then organelles, very functional, little functional, usually present, but semi-functional in collenchyma, and in they are absent. Large and prominent parenchyma, prominent in collenchyma, and in sclerenchyma no vacuole, क्योंकि खाली हो गया सारा. और ergastic substances, storage substances, parenchyma, collenchyma में और sclerenchyma में absent. Then functions क्या होंगे? Intermediate होगा. On one side is sclerenchyma, which does only all metabolic activities, absorption, secretion, सब कुछ करेगा. और collenchyma दोनों काम थोड़े थोड़े करेगा. Some mechanical support and some amount of photosynthetic and other activities. Occurrence कहाँ होगी? Occurrence wherever you have soft tissue. आलू काटोगे, जो आलू आता है तुमसे अंदर से, that is parenchyma. और collenchyma शूट सिस्टम में प्रेजेंट होगा, रूट में नहीं होगा. और स्क्लेरेंकाइमा जहां पे भी हार्ड टिश्यू प्रेजेंट है, फाइबर्स में, की स्किन में, जहां पे भी हार्डनेस रिक्वायर्ड है, कोकोनट की जो स्किन तुम के अंदर से कोपरा निकालते हो, all that is sclerenchyma tissue. So these are the salient differences between the three types of tissue. Please mind you, plant tissues is a very important topic. Exam agar ऑफलाइन हुआ और एग्जाम अगर सब्जेक्टिव हुआ तो कम से कम 20 मार्क क्वेश्चंस फ्रॉम प्लांट टिश्यू 70 मार्क्स में से आएंगे ही आएंगे. ध्यान से पढ़ना. नोट्स फॉर दिस टॉपिक आर ऑलरेडी अपलोडेड ऑन द ERP. यू कैन डाउनलोड देम. फॉरेस्ट बॉटनी में नहीं आएगा तुमको. पेपर अगर नजर आता है, इंट्रोडक्टरी बॉटनी फर्स्ट सेमेस्टर में अगर कोई पेपर नजर आता है तो उसमें पढ़े होंगे. नहीं है तो मुझे बता देना व्हाट्सएप पे. आई विल ट्रांसफर द मटेरियल टू योर क्लास, फॉरेस्ट बॉटनी क्लास. ठीक है, नहीं मिलता है तो मुझे बताना. नहीं तो थर्ड सेमेस्टर में वुड एनाटॉमी में भी पढ़ा होगा ये मटेरियल, वहां से निकाल लेना. ठीक है, पे सबको अवेलेबल है. आप कोई क्वेश्चन है तो पूछो.
No, ma'am.
Any question?
No, ma'am.
No questions? Okay. So now in your बोलो I am.
नहीं, कुछ नहीं मैम.
So in your lab records, you have to draw all these three types of tissues and write about them. Whatever diagrams I have shown you today, you can draw that. If you want the listing, I will give you after some time on your WhatsApp group. किसी एक बच्चे को दे दूंगी, वो transmit कर देगा. So this covers your theory as well as practical. class में मैं फिर से re-explain ही करती. ठीक है, कोई doubt नहीं है तो you can finish up now and go. And I will take one class on Saturday. I will tell you what time I will take it. Okay, कोई problem नहीं है ना Saturday में पढ़ने?
No, ma'am.
Good. सबसे पूछो.
Yes, ma'am.
क्या हुआ भूषण? किस चीज में प्रॉब्लम है? सैटरडे को क्लास
प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, सैटरडे को पढ़ाएंगे तो हम पढ़ लेंगे.
बहुत ही अच्छे. मुझ पे कितना को पढ़ लोगे तो यस बोलो, और जो नो बोल रहा है वो बंक कर सकता है. मुझको अगर टाइम मिलेगा, भूषण को नहीं पढ़ना है, वरुण को नहीं पढ़ना है. वरुण,
मैम पढ़ना है लेकिन आज नहीं पढ़ना है.
अब तो कहाँ से पढ़ोगे? अब तो 4:30 बज गए. अब तो 4:30 बज गए.
वही तो मैम, सैटरडे को होगा तो हम पढ़ेंगे.
हाँ ठीक है, चलो. आई विल लेट यू नो इन एडवांस. ठीक है, चलो. बाय बाय बच्चों. यू कैन लीव द क्लास नाउ. बाय
बाय बाय मैम.
बाय बेटा.